In 7 days, President Donald Trump will make history. In 7 days, those of you that dedicated your entire life, your whole being, your energy, everything that you possibly can to this movement will be fulfilled. And it is not the ending, but it is the beginning of a new dawn of America. In 7 days, President Donald Trump will say, "So help me God." That will say, we are taking back this country from the people that have done such remarkable and intractable damage to it. A great example of somebody who has done such damage to this country and is a contrast to the ascendant political ideology, which is the people, is what we've seen in California with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, remember when Democrats in California called a special session just to protect illegal immigrants from accountability? That is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom wants to be president. He is more ambitious than Lucifer. This guy wants to be president more than anybody we've ever seen before. Democrats spent $18 billion on illegals who pay $8.5 billion in taxes and only $3 billion on forest management. In 1 week, President Donald Trump will say, "So help me God." And one of the reasons why he won is people like Gavin Newsom that have been running the country into the gutter, have been running the country over a cliff. And now entire neighborhoods have completely vanished and disappeared in California. Remember this story. Gavin Newsom in California reaches $50 million to Trump-proof the state. This is right here. This is as of today. So while their state burns and people don't have homes, what is the priority of Gavin Newsom? To Trump-proof California. California Democrats have reached a $50 million agreement to shore up state and local legal defenses against the incoming Trump administration just a week ahead of the president-elect's inauguration. Political rights. Half the money would go to fending off any mass deportation plan the new president might enact in his administration. Now, time out. So they're spending money to try to thwart federal law enforcement. The move, the first of its kind in the nation that positions California to lead a second-term resistance against Donald Trump, comes as Republicans bash state Democrat lawmakers for focusing on the highly partisan issue, even as the southern part of the state suffers from historically devastating fires. So wait a second. They're going to pay money to make sure the federal government can't do its job. How is this any different? I want someone to prove me wrong. Any different than southern states that were resisting the federal government that led to the Little Rock Nine and the militarization of the National Guard and the desegregation of schools? How is this any different than Gavin Newsom saying we are going to thwart federal supremacy when it comes to immigration law? Democrats want to lock in their state's decline and failure, and Gavin Newsom better be careful. This very well might be against a lot of laws to say we're going to pay money to actively make sure the federal government can't do what the voters want to do. California is in a state of mind right now where effectively they're saying, don't you dare try and help save us. Don't you dare try and help us. Meanwhile, we spent over $200 billion to Ukraine, but California is Trump-proofing their state. This sanctuary state stuff should have forced the standoff long ago, and this is coming. You better believe it. Look, we're going to be able to do mass deportations in Miami and Orlando, in Columbia, South Carolina, in Augusta, Georgia. But as soon as the mass deportations start coming for Sacramento, California, it's going to be very interesting. Who's in charge of immigration policy? The states are not in charge of federal immigration policy, period. Politico continues, the deal includes $25 million Newsom has proposed for the State Department of Justice to fight federal government in court shortly after Trump's reelection in November, plus $25 million more proposed by state Senate leaders to defend immigrants against deportation, detention, and wage theft. The $25 million proposed by the Senate would fund grants for legal nonprofits and immigration support centers. Senate Budget Chair Scott Wiener, sound familiar? This guy never goes away. That freak never disappears. He is behind nearly every creepy, bad, treasonous, awful idea in the state of California. Quote, this funding agreement cements California's readiness to serve as a bulwark against Trump's extremist agenda. Floor votes on the so-called special session package could come as soon as this week. This would give Gavin Newsom time to sign the deal before Trump's inauguration on January the 20th and shift focus away from the session's partisan feud to how Democrats are responding to the unfolding disaster in Los Angeles. So just so you understand this, for all of you watching in California or understand California politics, as Los Angeles is burning to a crisp, the priority of California lawmakers is to create a $50 million fund to prevent President Trump from getting rid of cartel members and getting rid of illegal migrants. Representatives for the governor's office and legislative leaders did not respond to requests for comment as the deal is expected to be announced as early as Monday, today. Republicans have agitated for a special session focused solely on fires. And Newsom told Pod Save America over the weekend he's happy to do whatever moves the needle forward. What does that even mean, moves the needle forward? When asked about calling such a special session, he said he and legislative leaders were going to discuss whether that was necessary. I mean, can we just remark on how Politico has just become a press release service for radical Democrats? I mean, there's no questioning. This is just disgusting, naked partisan garbage from Politico. Newsom and legislators representing Los Angeles have also been in Southern California since the fires escalated. But that has not neutralized GOP critics. At a time when California should be laser focused on responding to the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles, Democrats' lawmakers' priority is creating a $50 million fund. Wiener continues, Senate Democrats are particularly proud to provide funding for providers of legal aid services, which we know our communities need best and are best positioned to defend at scale the millions of individuals and families that will be impacted by the incoming administration's extremist agenda. Trump warned us in 2018. He warned Newsom to amend their policies. By the way, can East Palestine or North Carolina get some of this Marshall Plan money that Gavin Newsom is talking about? Why do taxpayers outside of California have to subsidize Democrats' incompetence and potentially criminal negligence? If we had any sort of a fair justice system still in this country, Gavin Newsom would be in federal prison. If we had any sort of fair composition here, Gavin Newsom would pay a very, very heavy and significant price for not just the negligence, but for funding the blocking of federal law enforcement. The blocking of the equivalent would be this. Prove me wrong. What if a governor of Alabama told his local officials, do not hand over January 6 protesters to the FBI? In fact, we are going to create a fund to make sure that January 6 protesters are not handed over to the FBI. The world would explode, and they'd call him a traitor and a threat to democracy. But Gavin Newsom has more of a priority to foreigners that have invaded our land and broke into our country than to the people that have their homes completely eliminated.